Hi, and welcome back to our series of 21 questions that we would ask an attorney if we were hiring an estate planning attorney. Again, I'm Raymond Chandler with the Polaris Law Group, and this is my partner Scott Stork, and we're going through this series of questions that we would ask an attorney if we were going to hire someone else to do our estate planning. And that way you'll be armed with the questions that you should be asking to make sure you're getting an estate plan that works for you the way you want it to work. So make sure you stay in touch with us, subscribe to the channel, hit your notifications so you know when the next video is coming up. And this week we're going to be talking about how do you define estate planning. So we'll go first, Scott, why is that an important question to ask an attorney?
So it's really important when you talk to an attorney about how they define what estate planning is, because what you'll find a lot of times is most attorneys are only going to focus on how property and assets transfer at death. And usually in an even more limited way, how all they're able to do is avoid probate and make sure that the assets don't go through the probate process. So really watch closely how the lawyer answers that question, because what they're going to do potentially is ignore disability, which is a big one. So most plans that we end up reviewing actually either are pretty silent as to what happens if you as the maker of your estate plan become disabled, or they're so incredibly simplistic that it doesn't do any good. And so disability is a huge issue that can come up. Another one is, how does the plan work while you're alive and well? So again, there's a lot of planning and potentially even in Missouri protections that can come into play while people are alive and well. But you want to make sure that it's not just silent as to that either, because it ignores a number of things that actually can be really important in planning. The other thing that you'll find is that for attorneys and for documents that only are looking to avoid probate, it'll actually ignore one of the biggest issues in estate planning, which is how do you protect an inheritance that comes to your loved ones? And by protecting it, we mean protecting it from creditors, from divorces. How do you keep it in the family bloodline, so to speak? How do you protect it from all sorts of different outside sources? Or sometimes, how do you protect the beneficiary of the kid from themselves? And so, an attorney, online programs, etc., don't understand how those protections work, and so you're missing a huge issue in planning. And then finally, there's a lot of planning that's done that will miss tax implications completely. And so taxes are one of the things that we really look at many times in estate planning. It's one of the things that we can a lot of times really plan ahead for so that it doesn't affect a family. But if the plan doesn't talk about that, the plan's not going to work.
So the way we define estate planning, the way we've defined it for our clients, is we really tie it into the 4 stages of the estate that we've talked about. And so going through those 4 stages, the way we define our plan is, while you're alive and well, does your plan make sure that you are still in control, that you still have control of your property, of your assets, of your decisions, and everything of that nature? Which sounds like it should just be included with every definition of estate planning, but sometimes it's not. Some people do lose control of their own property during an estate planning process. So we want to define estate planning as making sure that you are in control of your property while you're alive and well. And then during the stage of disability, the second stage, we want to make sure that you have planned for you and your loved ones to make sure that everybody knows how to treat you, who's going to be in charge, what your wishes are, what your desires are, what your decisions are, at a point in time where you can't make those decisions for yourself anymore. So again, defining estate planning is tying into disability as well as death. And then at death, that third stage, we want to make sure that your estate plan avoids probate, that people know where they're supposed to be, what's supposed to be done, who's going to be in charge, things of that nature, and really just lay out your instructions to make sure that your estate settles as easy as smoothly as possible. And so every estate has to be settled in some way, shape, or form. Most end up in probate because they're not planned ahead of time, but even estates that don't end up in probate still need to be settled. So we want to define your estate planning, and we define estate planning as helping to make sure that settlement is set up and ready to go. And then the fourth part of our definition, of course, is going to be wealth reception planning for the inheritance now that we've left it behind, to make sure it goes to whom we want, when we want, and the way that we want. And that's really the big part of that definition, is the way that you want. Not just that you're giving a blank check to your inheritors, to your kids, to your beneficiaries, but that you're leaving behind protections instructions, values, wishes, things of that nature, whatever you want to leave behind with your children, to make sure that they're receiving an inheritance that's going to be a legacy and not just a blank check that's blown in 18 months, which is normally how long it takes. So we want to make sure that we're defining it, your estate plan and the estate planning that we do, within that context of those 4 stages. So kind of wrap up the definition. It's, I want to control my assets during the stage of alive and well. I want to make sure that I've planned for me and my loved ones if I become disabled. I want to make sure that my plan is ready to be settled and we know how we're going to settle it during the time of death. And then when I'm gone, I want to leave my assets to whom I want, when I want, and the way that I want. And all of that done while ensuring that my wishes are followed. And that's also very important. So make sure your wishes are followed, not just the boring legal stuff that is in there, but that your wishes and wisdom are put in there as well. So what do we have for next week, Scott?
So for next week, we are going to talk about the next portion, which is what is the estate planning process that attorneys have for their clients. And so make sure, again, you subscribe to the channel so you can see all of the videos, but watch for that next video coming out. I'm Scott Stork, and this is Raymond Chandler with Polaris Law Group, and we thank you for watching.